Hi, I'm Mary Greendale, and this is Just Thinking. Welcome to our annual series of interviews of candidates for local government offices. The town election is May 20th. We have contests for select board between a challenger and an incumbent. For park commission, we have 4 candidates for 2 open seats. For school committee, we have 4 candidates for 2 seats with 1 incumbent. And for library trustees, we have 4 candidates for 2 seats. 2 candidates are incumbents, but 1 incumbent declined to be interviewed. That was an incumbent for the library. I am interviewing all these candidates. I have prepared specific questions for each board or committee. Each candidate will respond to the same questions for that office in their interview. I ask a few different questions of incumbents to reflect their years of service. Voters can compare the candidates' responses. The interviews are done one at a time and will be posted when all the candidates for an office have been interviewed. My goal is to have the videos run 30 minutes, except maybe longer for school committee. I had a lot of questions. The videos will be available on HCAP's website, on HCAP's YouTube channel, and on our Facebook page. Let's get started. Okay, so now I'm going to interview Matt Fair, who is a candidate for the Select Board. I want to remind viewers that the Select Board are the chief elected officials, but they do not have any authority over other elected boards. The town manager, who reports to the Select Board, has some administrative authority over other departments and committees. Anyway, why don't we just jump in? So Matt, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me here tonight.
Thank you.
Pleasure to see you again.
Thank you. You too. So why are you running, and was there a particular issue that attracted you to this?
There was a particular issue.
Okay.
So I haven't really ever been involved in town politics. I haven't really ever gone to, town meetings or anything like that. Several times I went to some town meetings when important issues arose to vote, like the storage way back in the day. They started to do it, and then, people found out how much it was going to be, and then, everybody just came out of everywhere, and they came to the town meeting and they stopped it. So, I was able to go up behind the golf course several weeks ago, and from what I was told before I went up there, like I was just found out about it like a week and a half before the meeting was going to happen up there, that they wanted to put the town highway department up there. And I get we need a new highway department. I completely get that. And the workers deserve it. The town deserves it. New water department as well. So, I heard that it was going to be put up there possibly. So I went up there, and from what I was told, that only 7 to 11 people were notified, abutters, somewhere in that range. And then the word got around what was going on, and a lot of people showed up. I would say there was probably 125 to 150 people that showed up up behind the golf course at the parking lot by the town gardens. And then we got the tour by the engineering company. And then after that, it went down to the town hall for a meeting down there in the select board's room. And it kind of got heated at times. And when they were talking about the cost of the project, $51 to $60 million, and I got thinking about it, I said to myself that you can build a school for $60 million. And the piece of property up behind the golf course is nothing but ledge. It's where the quarry is. So with that being said, I said there's got to be a better place to put this town garage. There's got to be a cheaper way to do it. And that's when the wheels started turning in my head that I would like to get involved in town politics, because I can save the taxpayer a lot of money, and I can possibly save the town from many overrides. And I've got experience in construction, running my own business, and I've got a lot of wisdom and a lot of common sense. And plus a lot of people have been talking about, the town and people are scared about things that might be coming to the town, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from a lot of people, and that's what made me want to run for select board.
Okay, I'm going to add a question here then.
Go ahead.
You're saying there are things people are afraid of. What are you talking about specifically?
The development of Holliston, talk of apartments coming into Holliston, mega complexes, a lot of people, that have bought homes in Holliston. Of course, they want to keep Holliston small. They don't want the traffic any worse than it is now, and they've got concerns,
Okay, so what relevant experience or education do you bring to the board? And tell me how your skills, will support the work of the board.
Okay, so my education is a graduation from Holliston High School in 1975, and then a graduation from Bridgeton Academy in Bridgeton, Maine in 1977. And then after that, some schooling at Framingham State University. I never graduated from college. I've owned a business since 1980 on my own. I have 4 children from 2 different marriages. I was able to educate all my children and send them to college and pay for it without any student loans. And I've got a lot of experience with figuring jobs, numbers, common sense, good ways to do things and build things and save money. And I work well with others. I'm a very patient person, and they say patience is a virtue, and it took me a long time to learn what that was. But finally, I'm 67 years old. At the age of 62, I got it together.
I understand that experience a lot. When I served on the board, and that was now
Yes.
15, 20, 25, too long ago, the work could require 20 hours a week. During budget season, it could be as many as 40. And do you think that work is going to interfere with you professionally? Obviously, you have a business, but just with a...
I'm 67 years old. If I didn't care about the town of Holliston so much, I wouldn't be here tonight. And so work this winter was a little bit slow. Some days I worked. When I didn't work, I would head to my office and I would work down there. I would do estimates. I would go out and look at jobs. And I'm back to work now. Some work has finally been coming in. Some days I only work 4 hours a day. Some days I'll work 8 hours a day. But I've been able to master my management of time over the last 5 years. And that comes with the patience and finally growing up and realizing what life is all about. So currently, I get up in the morning and I get my 92-year-old mother to the bathroom, and then I make my 92-year-old mother her breakfast. I did that this morning. And then when she was all set, I went off to work. And then I went over to Hemlock Drive and worked at a job over there. And then at lunchtime, I went back to my mother's house. I served my 92-year-old mother lunch, made sure she was all set. Then I went back to work. And then just tonight, I was fortunate enough to get out of work at 3 o'clock. Work was done. I was able to go home, get cleaned up. But before I did that, I got my mother her dinner, and I made sure she was good. And then I got cleaned up myself, and I came here. So I'm pretty good at time management. But not only that, I'm in a men's program where last night I brought 4 men to a men's meeting a meeting in Westboro, and on Tuesday night I brought myself and 4 other men to a meeting in Mattapan. Now these meetings, between picking up the men that I bring, going there, and coming back, they're usually like 5 hours each. So 5 o'clock you go, you pick up the 3 or 4 guys, and then you go to the meeting, and then you get up and speak, mentor people, and then after that, you leave, you take these men back home, then you come home and you go to bed. So
Okay.
that's 10 hours just in 2 days that, And that's not counting the other 3 or 4 hours on Monday night. So, you know, that's about 13 hours right there with those 3 days. So if, you know, if I have to work 20 hours a week to help keep Holliston small and affordable and not to get the taxes raised, then I'm going to do it.
Okay. What do you think Holliston does well? And are there places you think we need to improve?
I think Holliston does a good job with the maintenance of the snow plowing of the roads. I think they do a pretty good job with the water. There always seems to be water at your home. I don't know much about the schools. I've been out of the loop with the schools for a long, long time. My children are all grown up. You know, my daughters are 40, 37, and then from my second marriage, my other daughter is 26 and my son is 23. So they've been out of school for quite some time. The schools appear to be in good shape. The buildings, I know there's been talk of a new high school possibly. I think that Holliston could be a little more transparent with the way they do any kind of a meeting for anything that's going on with any board. I think they need to give people more of a notice, you know.
I'm going to interrupt you there
Okay,
and
then
say
go ahead.
48 hours in advance of every meeting, it's on.
That's it? That's
Well,
all they have to give?
Yeah, that's what the
Okay,
law
all
says.
right.
And they do it, and
Okay.
it's on the calendar on
All right,
the,
okay.
just as a point of information, if
Okay,
you go
well,
to the
that's my
home.
bad, because I didn't think that it was, I thought it had to be more than that.
No, it's 48 hours.
Okay,
Yeah, and it's posted on the calendar on the
Okay.
website.
what else does Holliston do well? They've got a fine fire department, and they've got a fine police department, and they keep Holliston safe, and I appreciate that.
What would you like to fix? Anything?
I would probably like to fix keeping taxes low, trying to keep the tax low in Holliston on homes. There's a lot of older people that live in Holliston, and they have a tough time with their taxes, paying their taxes. New families have moved into Holliston, you know, bought homes, have mortgages, and I think that they worry about being able to afford their house and stay in Holliston. With taxes possibly going up, with building a new school, with more buildings being built in Holliston, apartments, things like that, the traffic getting a lot worse than what it is. I
Okay.
think the roads need to be fixed in Holliston a little more too.
Okay. Is there some project or policy that you'd like to introduce to the select board if you're on it?
I would say, if I was on the select board, I would say to the select board, we need a place for a new town garage, and we need to get a place, and we need to secure it, buy it, or whatever it is, or make a plan and get that done, you know? And I know a lot of people have talked about land down on Lowland Street. I know there's a couple parcels available down there. I know there's one that used to be the old Holliston Sand. I know that's available. I think it's still available, I'm not sure. It's like 30 acres. It's got a lot of potential. It's got a water well down there that delivers 440 gallons per minute on the property. It's got a beautiful level surface that is all sand. There's no ledge down there. And I think that if the town garage was to go there, and the water department, and possibly down the road a newer fire department down there, I think that would be a big plus for Holliston.
Okay.
Because I also heard that possibly there could be 300 housing units going in on that property.
Okay.
And I think the town should make an attempt to buy it.
Okay. You've mentioned a couple of things you have concerns about, and do you have concerns about where money is being spent, and anything in particular, and what would you like to change?
When I look at the project that was proposed up behind the golf course, and I know that's money not spent now yet, but up there between, say if it did go there, between blasting the ledge and building a bridge over a wetlands, you're probably going to drop probably $8 to $10 million at least. And say if you buy a piece of property down on Lowland Street for $4 or $5 million, from what I understand, the property already has all the studies done on it. You're saving big money right out of the gate, you know?
Okay. Anything else? Any other area?
Possibly, you know, spending some money on the road work, you know, doing some work on the roads.
There are a few potholes that definitely need some attention.
You know, I'm thinking maybe spend some money on one of those machines that makes the hot top. You ever seen the towns have it? They drive it around, it's heated, they can immediately patch a hole and make it work and make it stay in there. Instead of the old way of just, you know, shoveling it out of the back of a truck, putting it on there, you know, backing over it with the truck a couple times, and you know, how long is it going to stay in there? You get a good rainstorm for a day or so, it's probably going to wash out of there.
Okay.
Something, you know, maybe spend some money on that, you know.
Interesting idea.
And I see the town has all new trucks, and not all new ones, but a lot of new ones, and that they deserve it. They deserve it, you know. Because I see other towns like Framingham, they've got a beautiful garage and they've got beautiful trucks. They're all inside. They take care of them, and I think that's good. You know, I
Yeah,
think that's a
ours
good
aren't
thing.
inside, but they would be if we did a new building. Obviously, everything costs money.
Yes, it
And
does.
when you balance operations and programs against what they cost and that
Yes.
kind of thing, what will be your priorities? What programs, what projects, anything that's, I mean, perhaps other than the DPW, but anything else that strikes you as being something urgent, or not even urgent, but necessary that we need to deal with?
I would have priorities towards the fire department, having the apparatus they need, having a good building eventually down the road. The police have a brand new building. I would make sure that the police department have everything they need to keep the town safe. I would also make sure that, the roads there would be a schedule. I'm sure they have it, some type of a schedule for the roads, in the future, what kind of state money, what kind of federal money they can get, to fix the roads and do so many roads a year, whether they're going to scarify them or they're going to completely, grind them right down and regrade them and, do a new base, new infrastructure underneath the hot top. Drainage, that's important. Sidewalks, crosswalks. Those are the projects that I would like to see get done in Holliston.
Okay. People complain about taxes, we all do.
Yes.
And we talk about expanding the tax base by
Right.
attracting new businesses. Now, the small businesses that we have in town are wonderful because they're usually the ones who contribute beyond the taxes. They buy ads and programs
Sure.
for Little League, or they sponsor teams, or they do a lot of other stuff. But when it comes to the taxes, they provide about 2% of our taxes. So when we think about economic development, thinking about bigger businesses that could bring in more money,
Right.
do you have any ideas of appropriate businesses or any ideas of how to attract those businesses?
So if people want to buy business property in Holliston, say there's a piece of property for sale and they buy it, I would make sure, well, I don't know if I could make sure, but I would recommend that the town works with the people that buy the building and say they need a special permit to do something there. You know, there's a building that just got sold up on Washington Street. It was the old place where the guy was cleaning blinds. He had a blind cleaning business. Do you know the piece of property I'm talking about? It's right across from any fence. You know, he's seeking a special permit to use granite machines up there, and I'd give it to him because he's going to be paying taxes, you know, and
that doesn't fall under the select board, of course.
Right, I know that it doesn't. But in any way, shape, or form, whether it's the planning board, whether it's the ZBA, the zoning board of appeals, you know, if you want to get tax money and you want to get more dough into the town to pay for more stuff, I would definitely maybe loosen up the constraints on business, as long as it was all above board, you know, and everything was going to be good with the conservation and the pollution and all that stuff, and the water, if they're not going to be using a ton of water for the business, you know, and of course it's always better if the water goes back into the aquifer versus into a sewer pipe which goes into the Charles River eventually, you know, after it gets treated and into the ocean. But that's what I would do. I would definitely kind of move it along to get that tax money from those businesses, whether it's, you know, commercial or it's industrial in the industrial parks.
Okay. What would you say to someone who asked your advice about moving here? How do we compare to neighboring towns?
I would say Holliston's a great town to live in. I would say it's still got that small town appeal. You know, people drive through, this is what I hear from people now. I mean, I've been in Holliston pretty much since 1961, 62. My parents bought a house up in Brentwood, 465 Chamberlain Street, and it was $18,900 for that house. Then my dad put this big addition on it. You know, my dad loved to build stuff. He also owned apartment houses, and he started Mitchell Road down there off of Central Street years ago, back in the 80s. But I would tell people that, you know, Holliston is a great town. It's a great town to raise a family in, you know. It's got a lot of nice neighborhoods, you know. It's still relatively affordable. You know, homes here are still relatively affordable too. You know, I saw a house just go up for sale the other day for $580. You know, it's a split entry with an addition off the back. You know, it just got a brand new septic system, and it's up for sale. And I think $580 in Holliston, I think that's a really good value. You know, especially if you're a young family moving into town, it's a great place. You know, you've got the parks, you've got the Goodwill Park, you've got the ball fields around town. I think Holliston, you know, probably could use a few more ball fields and a few more parks, you know, a little more
With
green
more
space.
kids, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think is the greatest challenge that you can help to address?
I think it's the growth in Holliston, you know.
What do you see yourself as a member of the select board doing about the growth?
I would say to anybody that, you know, lives in Holliston, has a home in Holliston, that owns a condo in Holliston and paid taxes in Holliston, you know, if they're going to build stuff in Holliston, especially like, you know, they want to build apartment houses, you know, okay, so instead of seeing a 3-story apartment building, I'd rather see 20, 25 houses on a parcel of land with small house lots, its ownership. You can have a piece of the American pie, like they did down at on Tomasetti's property. Mike Tomasetti on the left-hand side on 16.
Oh, yeah.
They call it the Poor Farm,
Yeah,
the
the Poor
apartment
Farm.
house,
Yeah.
and they got the project behind that. That's a nice little project. I like those little projects. You know, it gives people skin in the game. You know, they got a home, they got a piece of land, you know, or condos, townhomes, you know, 2-bedroom townhomes, 1.5 baths with a single-car garage, or 3-bedroom townhome, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage.
Behind Town Hall, there's
Yes.
the existing Cutler Heights.
Yes.
Now, those are apartments.
Yes, they
Those are
are.
apartments,
Yes,
and
they
I think they're 3-story because the height is measured by some of the old houses. The heights on those old houses are the top, the height, what they can be built at.
Okay.
Do you have a problem with the apartments that behind there?
I think a lot of people that live in places in Holliston right now that, like down on Jarbrook Road, there's up on Concord Street, Carl Road, there's a subdivision that they want to put in there. It's all apartments. They want to build a 24-unit building, and they want to build a 32-unit building, I believe. The 32-unit building is 3-story.
It's a lot like the one behind Town Hall.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And a lot of
and
people.
You don't like that?
No.
Okay.
I think, I think it's got its place. If you want to build something like that down on Lowland Street, I think that would be a good place
It's
for
industrial
it.
zone.
I know it is. I know it is. That would that down there. That would have to be, the zoning board of appeals would, to.
Well, we'd have to rezone it at town meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
but that's, a 40B, if it was a 40B, you still have to rezone with a 40B?
No, but the ones that, the area that they're talking about going into is the part that was zoned for that at the last meeting,
Right.
last town meeting.
Right.
So that's why they are in those two areas,
Right.
the two areas that they're talking about.
Right.
To go down, yes, if there has to be rezoning, yes, there would have to be rezoning, but 40B makes it easier.
Right.
The town can't just out of hand say no.
Right.
So at a national level, policies about diversity, equity, and inclusion have changed. The policies at the state level have remained the same. Holliston's policies are spelled out in our strategic plan,
Okay.
and they are consistent with the state.
Right.
Do you want to revisit those policies? Are you comfortable with them? Explain how you feel about the diversity, equity, and inclusion.
DEI is a hot button topic
Yep.
all around
Yep.
the whole country with a lot of people on both sides of the aisle. When I was young and I was growing up, I saw my dad work 2 jobs as a meat cutter. He worked his tail off, and he never asked anybody for anything, and he worked hard, and he instilled those values in myself and all my other siblings. And my dad taught me a lot, He taught me how to swing a hammer, he taught me about life, and he taught me how to earn a living. Now, fortunately for me, I can go out and I can earn a living every day, and at the age of 67, I can still do it, I'm very fortunate. DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I really don't know much about it. I hear it spoken of all the time. I know they had it with the last. They had it with the last crew that was in the government for 4 years, and now they've started ending a lot of it.
I'm talking about locally, though.
Right.
It's in our own
Sure,
strategic
right.
plan, okay, that
Yeah.
we will encourage, support diversity, meaning whatever your race, color, creed,
I
religion.
totally agree with that. Go ahead.
Equity, that everybody gets an opportunity
Right.
to participate or
Right.
do whatever.
Right.
And inclusion is basically those
Right.
people who have limits, physical, emotional, mental, whatever, that they are included in your community.
I'm totally in agree with that.
So sometimes I think that the language around DEI gets to
right.
be very hot when it doesn't have to be.
Right. I mean, I'm all for diversity, It's a melting pot,
Yep,
and it always has been.
yep,
And equity, yes. Inclusion, yes.
okay,
I agree with that in the town of Holliston,
okay.
Now,
Now, the select board must work as a team because there are 3 of you and you don't get your
Yes.
own vote.
Yes.
And there are sometimes when you like to have your own vote and you just want, but anyway. What experience do you have working as a team? Do you have, around complex issues that need a lot of people to participate and get input from? Have you been involved in organizations or groups or events, whatever?
I have. I've been involved with a couple of groups. I've been involved with the group I'm in. We have business meetings every couple of months. People serve different jobs, do different things. They decide that they're going to be the one that's going to, bring the refreshments for the group. Everybody has different jobs, Someone's going to be the treasurer for the group for a couple of months. Someone's going to be the person that runs the meeting for a couple of months. I work well with others, I really do. I'm all for that, and I've also had to bid jobs at housing complexes, and I've won the bids. I've had to sit down with the people that run those housing complexes, and I've had to lay out a plan, how we're going to do the job, what areas we're going to work at, how we're going to keep people safe and the job site safe. So yeah, I've had some experience with that type of stuff, and I work well with others.
It'll come in handy with the select board
Yeah.
then. Okay, last question. At the end of a term, your term, and looking back, what are the top 3 things that you hope you've accomplished?
I hope I can keep Holliston affordable. I hope we can bring new housing into Holliston in a good way, where it doesn't create more traffic. It doesn't create more a large amount more of water use, and hopefully we can keep costs down in the town.
Okay, all right. So you are going to have 2 minutes to make a pitch for yourself to get people to vote for you. Okay, you can look
All
into
right.
that camera and this one here, camera 1, and
That's
just
fine.
Matt Fair, go for it.
Okay, my name is Matthew Fair. I'm 67 years old. I've been in Holliston, Mass. since 1961-62. I left for a couple of years. Back in 98, 99, 2000, I rebought a house up on Pinecrest Road. And I will work hard for the taxpayers of Holliston if I get elected as a selectman. And I will keep Holliston affordable as possible. And I will try to work with the other select people on the board to keep Holliston safe. And I will also try to make the best decision when it comes to spending the town's money on projects. I know I'm not responsible for a lot of the other boards, but I will make the best recommendation that I can for the townspeople, the taxpayers, and I will work for the people that vote for me. If I do get in as a selectman, I will do an excellent job. I have nothing to lose. I have nothing to gain. I'm not a politician, and I'm just a businessman in town. And I will appreciate your vote on May 20th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay, we're done here. Thank you for watching Just Thinking. You've done your homework. Now please remember to vote on May 20th. It's important for you, your family, and our community. Thank you.